Just to recap last ball game, I think a couple initial thoughts. I really loved the way we played the first half of the game, and I think that lends itself to our preparation, our focus, our intent in practice, which we had talked about last week, really in all three phases. Offensively, the execution, we were finally able to kind of break the dam and hit some deep balls, which we had been talking about, about taking those shots and able to connect on those. Defensively, creating a couple turnovers in the first half, pressuring the quarterback, affecting the quarterback, and then obviously the block punt on special teams. The one thing that continued to show up was the second half of the game. The momentum of the game obviously swung, and our ability to stay focused on the task at hand, I think, was really the deciding factor. We did some things uncharacteristic to us that we had done really well in the first half, same calls, same looks, that we weren't able to execute. And then unfortunately, their quarterback came in the game. We didn't apply the same amount of pressure that we were applying early in the game and allowed him to buy time and make plays really off schedule. It wasn't so much the on schedule plays, it was the off schedule plays out of the pocket, taking the shots down the field. And then ultimately, our inability offensively to get positive yards on 1st and 10. I can't remember who asked me last week what's going to be one of the keys to the game. I had mentioned win on 1st down. They had a very good defensive front, and in the first half of the game, we were winning on 1st and 10, which gave us second mediums or 1st downs, and we stayed out of the 3rd and longer or didn't even get to 3rd down. And in the second half of the game, it was too many 2nd long and 3rd and longs. You can't have half of your 3rd downs be 3rd and 11 plus. I think we had 12 3rd downs. I think 6 of them were 3rd and 11 plus. That's tough against that front. That's the strength of their team. So that's where the game kind of got out of whack. And I give our guys a lot of credit for battling back the last drive. I thought we executed a high level, really the last 2 drives. To give ourselves an opportunity and to tie the ball game. I think it's a credit to Xavier Worthy as a true freshman coming off the fumble on the kickoff to bounce back and make those 2 plays there at the end. And unfortunately, ball spit out on us and was a touchdown. So good learning lesson. Great game to be part of. I loved the fact that our fans showed up the way they did and had an impact on the ball game, and we're going to need them again this Saturday here against Oklahoma State. We need our home field advantage to be that advantage. But we got to get ourselves ready to play a quality football team here again Saturday if we want to accomplish the things that we're capable of accomplishing this fall. So big game, good start to the week here with practice this morning.
If you have a question, raise your hand and we'll get a mic to you. Start over here with Joe Cook on the right.
Between TCU, between Oklahoma, and now with Oklahoma State, who gives the ball to Jalen Warren a lot, it seems like teams are going to run to win the game against y'all. How do y'all prepare for that going forward?
Well, I think it comes back to our fundamentals and our techniques. If there was any disappointment late in that ball game Saturday, it was that I felt like we let the things that we practiced doing and then the things that we did in the first half get away from us in the second half. And I think that's happened now 2 weeks. The 99-yard drive that TCU had late to the fourth quarter of last week's game. When the game starts to get hard and there's momentum swings and things like that, our ability to trust our fundamentals and our techniques and to execute the call. And it's not about trying to make a play. And I felt like we had a couple guys trying to make a play, which inevitably we got out of our gaps, and that's happened 2 weeks in a row, and that's how runs get out. And so it's about doing your job, using the proper fundamentals and techniques, and that'll be good enough because we've proven that to be good enough. And I think that's the message we've been trying to get across to our guys.
Stay on the right, Onward.
Coach, could you, give us an update on Jordan Whittington? And I got a second one after that.
Okay, yeah, 2 updates. I apologize for not referencing that. So Jacoby Jones and Jordan Whittington will both be having surgery. Jacoby on his foot, Jordan on his clavicle. Not exactly sure of the timetable yet. I will keep you guys up to date.
Okay. And within the game, Coach, there seemed to be, from the naked eye, some missed tackles. I want to see what you saw on film, and how is that something, if you saw that, you can tighten up mid-season?
Yeah, no, I would agree. You know, we definitely missed too many tackles, really, at all three levels, whether it was the front line, the second level, or even the third level of the defense. And that, you know, we practice tackling every week. You know, we're a physical program. We work on it. And tackling's not all about the want to. Our guys want to get them on the ground. It's getting back to the proper fundamentals and techniques to do it. And when we miss, generally, we're not using the proper fundamentals and techniques. So we've got to continue to hone in on that. I think we've improved in that area, but we've got to be able to do it there at the critical moments.
Over here on your far left, Chip.
Steve, can you talk about the guys who need to step up now with Jacoby and Jordan out?
Yeah. Well, I think a couple things showed up. The guy who's probably made some of the best progress for us defensively has been Alfred Collins. He's really played well the last 2 weeks. So I think this is a great opportunity for him to get more playing time on that front. Obviously, Ovi has played really well now with the combination of he and Ray. And it was great to see Ben Davis. You know, he's been working back off of that foot thing here since the summer. You know, he gets in and forces the fumble. So I think we've got adequate people to step in and do that and play at a high level. From Jordan's perspective, Marcus Washington had been playing a fair amount of football for us, so Marcus will step in. Cavante Dixon is opportunity for him to step up. And then at that point, it's who else can step up beyond that. But also, what can we do from a personnel standpoint, maybe to take some of the stress off those guys? You know, whether it's multiple tight ends, multiple running backs, whatever that looks like, to remain creative, but also still run our schemes at a high level.
A lot of time a game like this can swing not just a week, but your entire season. How do you get your guys back mentally into the right frame of mind as you move forward from something like this?
I kind of like these challenges, quite frankly. You know, I think that this is when you learn a lot about ourselves. I talked about our mettle would be tested this week. I think the best way to deal with these types of things is to address them head on. Be honest, be upfront. Here's what we need to fix. And I commended the guys for the way they came out and played in the first half. I really did. I thought we played an excellent first half of football. So we're capable. Now it's about our ability to sustain and then excel at those critical moments. And so we know what our goals are. We know what we want to accomplish this fall. We know to do that, we need to play well this Saturday, and so that's where our focus is.
Over here on your left, Cedric.
Hey, Steve, what was the spirit like in practice this morning? Did you see the right level of anger, hurt, and resolve that you're going to need moving forward?
Yeah, I think it was. There's not a lot of time in our sport the way the turnaround is for kind of the poor me's, the woe is me's. Nobody feels sorry for us, right? I mean, whether it's outside of here, I mean, nobody's feeling sorry for us losing that game the way we did. So we don't have a lot of time to feel sorry for ourselves. It hurt. When you invest in something. And you don't get the outcome that you're looking for, that's painful. But that's the agony of sport, right? And that's why we do what we do. There's those tremendous highs that we get to appreciate, and there's some really tremendous lows that we have to endure. But the key to that is accepting that feeling and then using that feeling of pain or suffer or whatever that is to help springboard you to the next one. And I think the greatest competitors in the world have that. They've always had that ability. I've never known a football player or any other sport to have won every single game of his life. But they learn from that loss, and then they springboard that into another performance. And that's what we're going to need to do.
Back left, Jeff.
Sark, watching the tape, what were your thoughts on the ball getting over the secondary's head, or at least those jump ball situations? And is it stuff that is fixable or can be fixed?
Those were tough, man. I mean, the ball didn't really get over our head. I thought our guys played really sound in the back end, quite frankly, on the on-schedule plays, and that's an aggressive offensive team that loves to take their shots. I thought we were aware of it and we understood it. The plays occurred off schedule, and I think at the end of the day, really the two main ones that stand out were obviously BJ on the play down the middle of the field, and then obviously Darian Dunn on the 3rd and 19. And what happens is you get out of kind of phase of where you're in your normal position of where a receiver would be. When a quarterback scrambles and it takes that long, you can get in awkward or uncomfortable positions. And at that point, that's when you just have to trust your training and not panic. And I felt like it wasn't for lack of effort. Both guys were there. You'd love to get a hand in his hands to maybe knock the ball loose. I mean, there's a nice play by Deshaun Jameson on a fade earlier. That's the position we want to be in. Neither guy was really out of position. Their kid just made the play, and I think we're capable of making the play. I have the utmost confidence that we will the next time we're put in that position. So, but we have to continue to train it and continue to work, right? There's all these little things we're talking about, that make up the big picture of our team, and that's one of them, because the 50-50 balls down the field off schedule, if it nothing else, they can't catch it, right? And that's got to be the key to the drill.
Middle, Brian.
Steve, when guys are not executing late as they were at the beginning, what do you attribute that to? Mental? Is it the surroundings, the theater of it all? And does it go back to what I've asked you before about these guys have to learn the process of winning and closing the door?
Well, I think a lot of it is, momentum in sport is a fascinating thing. I mean, they probably have books and classes and things that you take to try to understand, what is momentum actually and why it goes the way that it goes, and the positive effects for the team that has the momentum, and the negative effects on the team that doesn't have the momentum. And then ultimately the combination of those two, momentum can continue to build. And I think the challenge for the team that doesn't have the momentum is how do you get back to just being fundamentally sound to understand one play is not going to change the momentum. It's going to be a progression of plays that come together that ultimately will swing the momentum back in your favor. And I thought Saturday we had a couple guys trying to change the momentum on their own rather than just doing their job really well and getting the momentum back in our favor. So it was a very good teachable moment for us that we're going to need, because we're going to have momentum swings all throughout this year and years to come.
Back middle, Jim.
You said earlier that once they made the quarterback change and you got into the second half, that you really didn't apply the same amount of pressure as you had been. Are you talking about guys just not winning physical matchups, or do you think you should have been more aggressive with defensive play calling?
No, I mean, we just didn't generate the same pressure. The calls weren't really changing on our end. The calls weren't really changing on their end. But for whatever reason, we weren't able to make him uncomfortable enough. Twice, they fumble the snap, and he goes over and picks it up. One time he throws a completion for a touchdown. The other time he runs over there and picks it up, gets a completion on a 3rd down that ultimately made us burn a timeout on a 3rd down. So there was opportunity for him to be uncomfortable. Nothing was really coming out on time. There was a couple throws that did. Everything was kind of off schedule. So I don't know if that affected our guys some as far as not wanting to let him out of the pocket as opposed to just try to make him uncomfortable. But I give him credit. A lot of guys would have panicked. When you're in the red area and you bang a ball off your knee and it rolls past your right tackle and you pick it up and throw a touchdown. I mean, he showed a lot of composure for him as a true freshman that we just weren't fortunate enough to capitalize on.
On your right, Roger.
Steve, OSU's won a lot of close ball games. They're rested. You guys have had these 2 fourth-quarter games, kind of what you expected. How important is it to be able to get that fourth-quarter momentum and know it's going to come down to that again?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, I think our guys really, if there's a takeaway from last week's game was, I think they felt that that was their best week of preparation and that it showed up there in the first half. And so they see the value in their preparation ultimately for the performance. And so this week of preparation is going to be big for us. To get ready to play a really good team, really well-coached team, great defensive team, physical team, because we're going to need quality play for 4 quarters. We can't hang around. I mean, we got to come out and we got to play well from the start, and then we need to sustain that for 4 quarters.
Over here on your left, Danny.
Steve, can I get your overall impressions on how you all performed in the kick return game? And going back to the fourth quarter, what is the message to Roshan, Xavier, your returners, about taking the ball out of the end zone?
Yeah. I thought those were two really well-coached special teams competing against one another. Two excellent kickers. I mean, Dicker and their kid were fantastic. Both coaches, special teams guys and head coaches, there was a lot of scheming going on, cross kicks, deep kicks. Neither team really could generate the return. We felt like we were close and that we'd have something there, but we had to protect against them cross kicking as well. So, having DJ go on one side, Xavier on the other, we wanted to make sure we could get a return. They did the same thing. They moved Mario Williams over to the opposite returner and tried to bring one out as well. Ideally, we would love for our guy to be 2 yards deep in the end zone and not back up. If he has to back up, you keep it in the end zone. The unfortunate thing for Xavier, he kind of had to drift to catch the ball, and as he was drifting, he kind of drifted back. But that really wasn't the issue on the fumble. A couple things is we have a couple guys not doing the right thing, which they've been doing right all game, and then a good learning lesson for him, he had the ball in the wrong arm. So teachable moments always, but ideally 2 yards deep, never go back. If you go back, keep it in.
Coach, a couple of quick ones. Have you ever coached against Mike Gunding? Your thoughts about him? And also, are you mad at Jimbo Fisher for denying you the right to defeat Saban as an assistant coach?
I have never coached against Coach Gundy. Great coach. I mean, he's been doing it a long time at a high level. One thing I appreciate about him is they've kind of reinvented themselves in Stillwater, where they were pass happy, outscore your team to they're a defensive football team, a veteran team, play tough, play physical, they run the ball. So they've kind of, reinvented themselves, different identity, and that's a sign of a really good coach, that you play to the strengths of your team. So I have a lot of credit to him. And, that was a heck of a game Saturday night, with Bama and A&M. So that was a good win for those guys.
When a team is running on you the way Oklahoma was in the second half, how much can you change, and what are you telling your defense to try to, is it just trying to get back to doing your job, or what do you try to do in those situations?
Yeah, you make the subtle adjustments based on some of the schemes that you're getting. You try to coach up the individuals when you can see where the issue occurred. And that's something we talked to the team about. Even through all of that momentum and all that was happening in the game, we have to be adaptable. We have to have the ability to adapt to what's happening, have to have the ability on the sidelines to hear clearly, and then so that we can make those proper adjustments. And so, I think we made an attempt to do it. Obviously, it wasn't good enough.
Steve, do you still feel like the defensive line is the strength of this team, or have they kind of not lived up to your expectations? And how far away are you from just being a really good team?
Well, I think that our defensive line has progressively actually played better throughout the year. The one thing we would all love is just to be this unbelievable pass rushing football team. That's not really how we're built. So we got to be stout. We got to have really good rush lanes and not let quarterbacks escape through the pocket and try to collapse the pocket. And that's an area that we'll continue to work on. I don't know exactly how far we are, from a metric standpoint. What I do know is, that was a top 5 team in the country. And I think with 2 minutes to go in the third quarter, we were ahead 41-23. So if that's the metric, maybe we're not as far as we think. So, but it's not really about that. It's about how do we continue to get better and fix the issues that we have.
Steve, there's a very real possibility that you guys will be favored for the next 6 games. Do you hammer to the guys about, hey, Arlington is still on the table? Do you talk about that, or is it just OSU all the way?
I think it's twofold. I think one, we have to recognize what our goals are, and we would obviously we'd all love to win a Big 12 championship. And I said it Saturday, we would all love an opportunity to play Oklahoma again. But none of that can occur if we don't handle business Saturday and put all of our effort, focus, attention to Oklahoma State. And I think that's, I've never been one to not be transparent with our players. And I've never been one not to realize that from Saturday at 3 o'clock, by the time we got on the bus until Monday morning, they're reading everything you guys write. They're on Twitter, they're on Instagram, they're talking to Uncle Joe, they're talking to the high school coach. So they're getting a lot of outside influences. So when I talk to them, I try to be very transparent, upfront, and honest. So yes, we did address still what the goal is. Yes, that goal is still very attainable, but that can't occur if we don't put all of our attention and focus into this ball game with Oklahoma State Saturday.
Got time for two last ones over here on the left. Chip?
Steve, I think you had a penalty on the offensive line in each of the first 3 drives in the third quarter.
Yeah.
Was it atmosphere or because that was tough to overcome?
Yeah, it was. I've been talking about this mental intensity thing, this mental focus thing for 4 quarters, in different aspects of the game, and I felt like, we got a little of it there on the offensive line. We had some uncharacteristic snap infractions, false start, a hold that were a little uncharacteristic for us. We've been a pretty clean playing football team, and I know we've had maybe a couple calls not go our way, but the pre-snap penalty things are definitely in our control, and that's not something that was a little out of character for us. And so, whether it was the environment or the game, whatever it is, it's unacceptable, and we definitely have to clean it up.
Last one on your right, Roger.
Spencer Sanders, we'll talk about it all year, guys that can make off-schedule plays. How difficult is that to scheme because it's off schedule, so
Yeah.
hard to plan for.
Well, it's difficult, and I think that's why our ability to maintain the pocket and to try to collapse the pocket. The moment we get out of rush lanes, now he can escape through the line of scrimmage. The moment a defensive end, comes inside and we don't have somebody to contain, now he can flush outside of the pocket. So our rush integrity, our rush lanes, definitely have to improve so that we can keep those types of players in the pocket and try to collapse the pocket so that we can minimize some of those off-schedule plays.